Facebook. I can even see if Facebook's up here.
Facebook said it.
All right. I think we're up on stuff now. We got YouTube and Facebook going.
All right. We're only YouTube and Facebook. If your friends are on Instagram, let them know to head over.
Yep.
Here, sorry about that. We're 5 minutes late. But I think we can run 5 minutes longer. So,
Well, we can run anytime we want now. We're not bound to Instagram.
that's true. Oh, Instagram's the limit, huh? Yeah. Well, anyways, welcome to our
91st.
91st live Facebook Live Platinum Hour. Two guys and car parts. I don't know, whatever you want to call
Whatever you want to call it.
Two guys and a coffee cup, you know. My name is Javad Shadzi. I'm the CEO of 034 Motorsport and the founder. And this is Nate Stewart, also a founder level member.
I guess, yeah. And
Been here since basically the very beginning. And Nate currently is our director of engineering and all things software and tuning, which is most of what we end up talking about on this.
it really is, yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be pretty easy.
This is a question and answer style, ask us anything, AUA type session. So yeah, typically we're answering questions about 034 Motorsport products and services, but we love talking about our history. We love talking about the company, about our philosophy, about our experiences.
Yeah, lots of like automotive myth debunking, especially aftermarket
Yes,
stuff.
we love tackling very controversial automotive topics, which it turns out aren't that controversial.
You can do a lot of things with data.
Yeah, and common sense, actual real common sense and logic.
Yeah.
And then you can ask anything else too. Cooking tips, child discipline. I know a lot of people struggle with that. I'm quite good at it. So teaching kids how to eat
I
red
thought I
meat.
was until my phone came along.
Yeah. And let's get started. So we have some questions rolling in. Oh yeah. We take a no BS approach to responding. So
Yeah, and feel free, Instagram, unfortunately, is down today, but Facebook and YouTube, you can get your questions in there.
Yep.
Just comment away on the streams. We've got guys here watching and putting your questions into our queue, which we have on our systems here.
yeah. Last week someone said I looked fed up. I think was it fed up?
Yeah, I think it's fed up, yeah.
I'm actually not fed up. I just have a resting dick face. And so it gives the wrong impression. But inside I'm very happy and jubilant.
Don't look up that.
Really, really happy to be here. So, no, I am happy to be here, and I do love doing this, and I do love answering these questions, and I just have a resting dick face. All right. So, B9 3.0T catch can upgrade coming. Yes, it is coming. I believe we're in the final stages of manufacturing and assembling the product. So, I don't know exactly what the date is, but it's soon. It's coming. It's done. All the engineering's finished. The testing's done. We're ready to go. Someone's asking about TTE710 updates. Nothing super new to report other than we're continuing development. That's a tune and a product support that we're looking to release sometime this summer, which we're in the spring now. So maybe a couple more months. Would I be able to run nitrous with your Stage 2 Plus on the B8.5 S4, or would it be best to custom tune, and would the engine be able to take that power around 50 shot? Well, you could either run nitrous, or you could attach a JATO rocket pack to the back
It's
of your
your car. You can do whatever
You can do whatever you want. We do not sell or test any of our tunes with nitrous, nor do we do it with JATO rocket packs. We did test once. We cut a hole in the floorboards and kicked like Fred Flintstone, and it just didn't seem worth it. It was only like a fraction of a horsepower increase.
The dash kept getting warnings about the manifolds.
Yeah, danger to floorboards. No, in all seriousness, you're on your own when it comes to nitrous. All your questions, you'll have to answer. We haven't tested it. We don't know. It stands to reason that it's possible that the engine can withstand a 50 shot. The problem is nitrous is by nature very volatile. And if you know about fuel, the lower the octane of fuel, the less volatile it is, the more stable it is, which is why it's more detonation resistant. But you talk about something like nitrous, it's extremely volatile. and it's why it contains so much energy. So when you inject that into your engine, you have a limited amount of control over the results.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. Obviously different, but similar to like water meth injection, where this is a system that is completely independent of the ECU. The ECU has no idea what to do with this extra flow, the extra fuel mass that's coming in. Your air fuel ratios just go out the window. And the ECU is running closed loop the entire time, so it's going to try to account for that. So, you've really got to get it dialed in and balanced and calibrated for that exact installation you have and how it's being injected and how much is getting into the motor and how evenly it's being distributed across the cylinders. So,
and I'm not aware of any tuning company that currently in the Volkswagen Audi realm. I'm not super familiar with outside that, but I'm not aware of anyone that provides ECU calibrations with nitrous support.
No, not off the shelf.
It sounds insane just even saying it.
And this platform's tricky, and all these more advanced, newer generation vehicles are tricky. There was a guy recently in some of the Facebook groups who was getting his car custom tuned and was running into all kinds of problems and was reaching out and trying to figure out why his big throttle body wasn't working and these other things. And something as simple as a throttle body is potentially not very simple, as this customer and this tuner found out. So there's a lot of stuff out there. Custom tuning isn't necessarily as easy as you might think either, so be careful. It's a tough field to navigate, determining what kind of calibration you're able to run and how you're going to run it, what hardware you're able to run reasonably.
No, so nitrous is something that should be used in a very limited capacity. Like you're drag racing and you just want to go a little bit faster to beat the other guy, or you want to just make a little bit more power for something. And it's just not a sustainable long term.
If you're assuming you're just going to go get it custom tuned, getting back to that, I would strongly suggest get the thing custom tuned first, all the way to the nth degree before you add nitrous, and be sure it can be done. Don't just jump in, try figuring things out with nitrous.
Yeah, I mean,
that holds true for almost anything.
Was he asking about custom tuning?
Yeah, well, he said he should he go get custom tuned if we don't support nitrous with the motor.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, custom tuning is there's a lot of ideas out there that custom tuning is better than off the shelf tuning.
We've literally spent thousands of hours working on our calibrations, and I mean, to get a custom tune generally to that level, where our canned files are at, is going to take those hundreds of thousands.
I think this sort of goes back to like this notion that like home cooked food is always better than restaurant food, or something. I mean, it's something like that. Like, well, someone at home made it, and it's love is poured into it, and I mean, that's not true. Most of the best food in the world is at restaurants, not homes. But I mean, home cooked food can be a lot better than restaurant food too. It's just hard to like draw any broad based conclusions on that. But when you're talking about 034 Motorsport tuning, off the shelf tuning versus custom tuning out there, you're gonna have a really hard time making an argument that a custom tune is going to be better performing, better developed, better engineered with more testing than our off-the-shelf tunes. So you're literally giving up nothing when it comes to performance with our off-the-shelf tunes, and you're gaining safety, reliability, testing, the fact that it's been tested by thousands of customers, not to mention, and it's satisfied customers, not to mention us, there's just no comparison. But there's this kind of idea floating around that custom off the shelf tuning is bad and custom tuning is where it's at. And sure, you might be able to make a little bit more power with a custom tune or push a little harder, but these ECUs are incredibly adaptable, and our tunes account for all the variations in the various engines, within certain modifications.
Within range, yeah. And I mean, not to say you can't build packages, a setup that's way outside of the scope of what we've calibrated for.
Well, that's different.
And, you think you can just go get it custom tuned and run a bunch more power, make 600 wheel with it, because you've done whatever supporting mods to get enough air into the motor. It's tough. It's a hard path to forge because
Well, it's one guy in a small shop with a limited amount of experience.
that's probably tuned, a dozen other different systems and
You
can
have no way to test an engineer at the level that a company like us can.
yeah. There's on these ECUs we've talked about before. There's some pitfalls that are inherent to this exact ECU and this software versions that you're not going to fix in calibration. You have to go outside of that. You have to fix some firmware stuff first, and make it work properly. So they're tricky.
Yep. Someone's asking, why do rear main seals fail? I haven't seen one fail on a B5. Why should I use yours? We did just release our 2.7T rear main seal. This is our billet seal housing. I'm not aware of anything on the market like this, even from the people who claim that we've copied or knocked them off. So we are bringing new products to market in this category. This is a solid billet flange. It's not cast aluminum or stamped steel like some of the factory stuff. But the biggest benefit of this seal, the newer seals like what you have on your B5 and moving forward to new cars, there's the rear main seal, which seals oil from draining out of your crankcase, through the crankshaft opening in the block. The newer style seals use this little molded Teflon lid, and so when you install it, and it's called like a wiper seal, and so when you install it, this molded kind of Teflon wiper that kind of sticks out like this kind of loads up against the crankshaft and kind of seals that. The problem is, other than the kind of the natural springiness of the Teflon, there's not a lot of positive sealing interaction between the seal and the crankshaft. It turns out older style seals were of molded Viton rubber, and then there's a spring around the outside that provides tension. And so the Viton does a very good job of sealing, and it's a very durable, long-lasting material that withstands chemicals and heat. And then this spring, which is an actual coiled spring, applies tension. So there's always really good sealing, and these seals would last forever. The newer wiper seals, we see much higher rates of failure, and rear main seal failures are actually quite common. If you have a perfectly good rear main seal and it's not leaking, I don't necessarily recommend you drop your engine to install this, $190 flange or however much we're selling it for. But if you have your motor out and you're doing a build, definitely install one of these. And if you have your clutch out and you're doing your clutch, while you're in there, you might as well do it, because it's going to be just as much work to change your rear main seal later on. So I think rear main seal is either a while you're in there or a failure type job. I would not just go in and mess with your rear main seal if it's currently sealing just fine. But if you're in there and it's right behind the flywheel, and you're taking the flywheel off anyways, then you just pop a new one in. It's an extra 5 minutes of labor. So this rear main seal that we offer, the reason you should get it is this is better than the one that your car came with. It's also brand new. If you need a new rear main seal, this is a great one to do. The billet aluminum housing is also very rigid and holds the seal in place. It doesn't deform or flex. So this is a pretty superior sealing system. And if you put this on your B5 2.7T, I don't believe you'll ever need to mess with your rear main seal again. We also ship it with the seal installed and pressed in, so you don't have to do that yourself like some other companies out there. And we also include an installation tool. So this ensures that you put this over the crankshaft, then you slide the seal over that, and it ensures that the seal seats properly on the crankshaft. And we also provide a nice new OEM gasket. This one's made by L-Ring, but this is basically the factory gasket. Original equipment. So those are in stock, ready to ship, and that's why. And we have several billet rear main seal products. We have more coming.
And I think one of the comments in there was they've never seen one fail. I mean, they certainly do fail. It's not an infinite life seal. We've certainly seen
rear main seals are a failure point.
Like a tease and 2 liters. Yeah.
If you haven't seen one, then I would say you probably have very limited
enough of them.
Limited experience around. But we see these cars every day, and we do have cars coming in with oil leaking past the remain seal and gets all over the clutch, gets all over the flywheel, clutch starts slipping, drips all over the driveway or garage or whatever. So there's a reason if you go on any Auto House AZ website, they sell lots of remain seals. Like,
Yeah.
they have.
Yeah, there's a reason there's an aftermarket for these.
I think we looked when we released the 2.0 TFSI seal. There was like over 20 aftermarket options on one website alone. So 20 aftermarket companies don't rush into a market to sell remain seals for a thing that never fails. That just doesn't. So anecdotal experiences aren't always the most accurate. B9 S4 installing the rear swaybar and links. The firm setting lines up perfect. To use the soft setting, the end links require some force to move to line up. Is this normal or how to adjust? I don't know. It depends on how much force you're seeing and what you're seeing specifically. It's hard to say. I would suggest emailing tech support at 034motorsport.com.
Yeah, because that bar will, there's probably a little, again, I don't know the specifics on this and how it's being installed, but if it's the wheels are at full droop, you might have to tug the bar down a little bit to get everything, lined up until you set the ride height.
Or you could extend the end link and thread it out. But tech support will be well suited to help you with that. We don't want to steer you the wrong direction with just that limited information. 8VA3 non-mag ride. This is a question about the new 034 springs that you guys released. Could you go into detail about what was done and how it should handle with a fully stock suspension? Yeah, so this is our standard Dynamic Plus lowering spring type product. I believe, I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but I believe the car is lower by about 2 inches at least. Maybe less, but basically we have a what
0.75.
Okay, so we're saying 0.75 on the A3, really? It seemed like it was so much higher than.
Yeah, 0.75.
Okay, all right. Well, and we have pictures of it.
Yeah,
on the website, so you can see the before and after on our site. But so we lower 0.75 inches. Generally, what we're targeting is a certain fender gap that's it can vary from applications. Obviously, Q7 and SQ5 is going to be different than A4, and some of the S cars are already quite low. So we may err on the lower side for the cars that come lower, vice versa. But we're targeting a certain amount of wheel gap, which is around 0.5 inch to 0.75 inch between the top of the tire and the fender. This gives the car much better look. Especially when you plus flush the wheels. It's a really nice looking setup. And we increased the stiffness or rates of the springs to improve the handling and to optimize the car's handling with the factory shocks. So the factory springs are typically much softer than the factory shocks will allow. And we're able to remove some of the compromise, which is the super cushy ride, especially in the A-class cars like A3s and A4s. The factory goes way soft and cushy, because that's the lowest common denominator. So we remove some of that softness and cushiness while still giving an excellent smooth ride, but it's definitely much more sporty, what you would want in a car that's designed more to handle and go faster around corners. So again, we're optimizing the spring rates and we're lowering the car. On a stock A3 with no other modifications, the car will look lower. It will look much better. And what you'll notice is a firmer ride with much better, flatter, more responsive handling. It's not going to increase your cornering grip a ton, within reason, but the lower center of gravity does give you more cornering ability. And just how the car feels is transformed. I really recommend pairing that with our sway bars and end links. That's going to be a completely transformed car, and then add some wheels and tires with some, I think.
It's ball joints.
Well, you can start messing with camber too.
Alignment stuff, yeah.
But yeah, no, the car that we put the springs on, we also put our rear sway bar on, just those two mods, and it just completely transformed the car. But it was still very drivable and smooth and really nice. So, and again, these springs are specifically for the A3 non-mag ride. I think other companies offer, one spring for everything type thing. And we're very particular about developing springs for individual applications that need it. So this is the perfect spring for your A3 non-mag ride. It can be used on the street and on the track, and you can combine it with lots of other modifications. And those we released, I think, a week or two ago. They're in stock, ready to ship if you'd like. How much power will be gained with your turbo inlet on the stock turbo for the B9 3.0 T? We will be releasing all that information when we release the product. I don't believe we have that available too.
Yeah, I certainly don't have it off the top of my head right now.
Let's answer this one again. How do I convince my wife it's a good idea to buy more 034 parts for my car? Well, we always go back to safety. Better cornering, better braking, and acceleration allows you to accelerate away from danger, more power. So if there's a dangerous situation, the faster you can get out of there, the better. Yep. It's like in that movie Forrest Gump. She tells him, don't try to be brave, just run, Forrest. And that's what the additional power gives you. That's the safety factor.
Yep.
So it's really about safety. And I guess if she loves you, she'll want you to be safe. If she doesn't love you, then that's a whole nother conversation you may want to have with a therapist present. But we go back to safety. Yeah, there's this like much lower level consideration of like whether you're happy or not, and she may not care if you're happy, but if you have fun with your car and this is something that makes your life more fun to live and worth living, that possibly might weigh in, but she just might not give a shit either. And I think that's pretty common.
Yeah, understanding some of the hobbies can be tough.
Yeah. I think there's plenty of husbands and wives that are like, I don't really give a fuck what you like or what makes you happy. There's things that I want you to do, and they're probably not going to budge on that. And so that's where therapy also makes it. And good luck with all that. We will move on. I see you've been teasing B9 RS5 tuning. Will it be available for my B9 RS4?
Yeah, the ECUs are going to be. It's the same engine and calibration package across them.
Yes, we will be.
Yeah, we're teasing RS.
Yeah. So let's talk about that real quick. So the time is nigh.
Yeah.
For B9 RS5 2.9T tuning. And so we are gearing up to release that this week. Mm-hmm. We're currently tentatively shooting for Wednesday. What we will be releasing initially is a stage 1 with and without fuel pump.
Yeah, so it'll be a 1 and a 1 plus set of files.
For 91 and E85 fuels only initially. Our goal is to get 93 released in a couple weeks, possibly a month. But we finished 91, we finished E85, and so we were gearing up to do 93. And I basically said, is there any reason why we can't just release this with what we have? So if you run 93 fuel, no problem. You just buy the 91 file.
Oh yeah, you can always run the 91 file.
And then when we release the 93 file soon, imminently, then you can just flash for free to the 93 file, and there will be some additional power there.
It's not huge though. The difference from 91 to 93 is not super dramatic.
The difference on 91 stage 1 or stage 1 plus will be mind-boggling. Compared to what you've been running on 93. So, and again, this is a very short-term temporary thing, but we wanted to kind of get the tune out sooner, and there was no reason to let it sit on the shelf for
we've got
3 more weeks.
Obviously, a vast majority of it done, so why not start pushing it out there?
The results are extremely exciting, to say the least. The car is insanely fast. I mean, we're talking about DAZA acceleration levels, and I think the around here there's been some like marveling at like, I don't know, well, this is even better than a DAZA.
It's a 10-second car, full weight, full everything, street everything, stock wheels and tires. Like
you have 2.9 liters
spare tire, like literally everything,
and the back seat.
No, everything. There's nothing taken out of the car.
I mean, the fact that the back seat's still in,
and you've got a 10-second car that you can go,
But you've got an extra 0.4 liters, and you've got 2 big turbos that flow more than the 1 turbo on the DAZA. So, it's a very potent package, and you're rocketing at 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds or less with your back massage going, and the fart evacuation system if your car came with that. Pretty exciting stuff. I mean, this is an exciting time to own a B9 RS5. That, you know, if you've been watching what we did for B8 3.0T and B9 3.0T S4, we're doing the same thing for B9 RS5. We're upping the ante. We're setting a new standard. Nothing out there currently will compare to this tuning, and this is just the very initial release. So what you'll see, you know, over the next months and year is us adding more features, making updates, and continuing to improve on this tune for this RS4 RS5 2.8.
Yeah, there's a good follow-up. Will we be getting the TCU tune out of the gate for the B9 RS5?
Yeah. So initially we will have our stage 1 ECU, you know, patch, which basically is the connection update to the TCU, so that the TCU can still be involved in the ECU from a safety standpoint.
Yep.
This is basically a free. It's being called a patch by a lot of people, but it instead of disabling the TCU from the communication loop with the ECU, we're maintaining it. We're updating it for the new power levels that you're seeing. This is what the factory would do if they released an update like this.
Yep. Yep.
And then we will release a full featured stage 2 TCU tune in the future. We don't have a
that won't
date.
be very long. We've been obviously testing that and running quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
hopefully in the next month or
that's
two,
quite close as well.
we'll make that available. That will be a paid for stage 2 flash. Now here's the thing. For S4, if you bought the stage 1, then we gave you a deal on the stage 2 when we released it. So we gave, instead of $600, it was $450. So there was $150 savings for people that bought it early before it was available. We strongly recommend anyone do that again, and we will do a same type of deal for you there, which is always a nice bonus. And we also release lots of free updates. So, you know, improvements. We've done free updates just based on feedback, community feedback.
We're active on all the files and keeping.
And then certainly
any concern, any nuances or things people don't like, we do our best to squash it as quickly as we can.
And anything related to bugs or issues with the tune that come up, we jump on those right away. And I think your S4 brethren will confirm that we've been good at jumping on fixing anything that comes up.
Yeah, even some of them are OEM bugs we're trying to squash too.
Yeah.
So some are trickier than others.
So hopefully by Wednesday we will be releasing this and making it available. So stay tuned. We're very excited to get this out there. And again, 93 is coming.
Oh yeah,
and 104 too.
Oh, we'll be doing we'll be doing all the
octanes
and
everything else.
Yep, just like we're doing the rest of our platform.
But to confirm, the 91 file will run really nicely on 93, no issues there, and then there'll be the 93 file coming very soon.
Yeah, and I mean these are just by far and away the most common octanes. We obviously will tackle those first, so this should cover the vast majority of you guys out there. So I would also, if you haven't yet, strongly recommend running out and getting a ethanol content analyzer. So you can get ready for that.
Yeah. We like the fuel it ones. There's Innovate has one, AM has one. There's plenty of options. How's the boost gauge in the B9 S4 dashboard affected by the ECU tune? Does it actually reflect boost level on a tuned car?
That is, I think does the 9.5 get an actual readout, or is it still the slider?
Slider.
It's all the sliders. So I mean the sliders basically useless anyway.
But it's going to be proportional.
Yeah, it's proportionate to the max allowable boost.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So it will function as is.
Function.
It will be updated.
Yeah.
We don't turn it into a real boost gauge, but
yeah, I mean they're so dampened. It's there. I guess I don't.
No, but don't confuse the situation. We do update it. Yeah, it's still the same thing that it was, but we don't turn it into some magical, super accurate boost gauge. Yep. That's not what it is. But it scales with our tuning. What you see on the dash will be accurate and updated. Yes. How are we looking for SummerFest this year? I want to visit from Socal. I think we're looking good. Yeah. And I'm up for doing something. I'd like to do something. The whole Omicron thing, put a damper on any possible events. But we just had an open house at ZTF Automotive this past weekend, which went really well. It was a great event. and we had good turnout for that. I don't think anyone died, so that's good, and I think we should be fine.
I mean, there might have been some like overdoses on Starbread
Oh,
that happened.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, the
just
Starbread could
butter and
contribute to
sugar,
death later
yeah,
in
might be
life through heart
cardiovascular
degradation,
thing.
right? It's just another layer of plaque.
There's
But
just
a really-
a Starbread tube in there.
Someday they're gonna like cut the arteries open and be like, "Oh, that was that day they went to the Starbread open house."
Bring a tree, like tree rings.
Yeah, and it was a cars and coffee style
Yeah.
event.
Good for people. It was a good event.
I did
Yeah.
not cook,
Huge
but
mix of people.
I will definitely cook for SummerFest. It's a lot of fucking work, but I think we can do it. So yeah, we should start planning for that.
Yeah, we got more girls than we've ever had, so we should be should be in good shape.
Wait, did you say girls?
Got my
No, yes, we do have 2 grills,
yes.
pellet smoker grills, and then we have 2 24-inch Webers as well. So we should be, yeah, no, that'd be good. Any plans on doing advanced launch features or RAL on
Rolling anti-lag.
on B9.5 S5?
Yes, there's more of these features will be coming. Again, we're not putting any hard dates on it, and as we've said before, we're still in the stage 1, stage 2 levels of these files. We want to make sure we're putting all of our effort on getting the calibrations as dialed as we can. But yeah, we'll be adding all those, just like we do with the B8s.
Let me see. I've noticed since flashing E85, the engine definitely sounds different under load than 9193. There's more vibration valve noise. Is this normal?
Vibration valve noise.
I would say that's not normal, or it's hard to say what you're referring to.
Yeah, that's a tough noise to try and suss out.
The engine is producing more power.
Yeah, it's
a lot more power.
It's a lot more power. You're gonna, you might be feeling more vibration. Just the drive line is more loaded up, so that's just going to transfer more of that through the chassis.
I think too. I don't know if this has ever been studied, but in on the audio side, like in speakers, and the scientists that study acoustics and speakers, there's a lot of this kind of psychosomatic phenomenon of what we hear is influenced by our other emotions, our other senses. Certainly by emotions.
Certainly by emotion.
If you're listening to
You
some
can
speakers
zone out
and
all kinds of things.
someone's making you fear for your life, then you may walk away with a different qualitative experience on how those speakers sound. But no, there's what we perceive is heavily biased by our environments and the other sensory inputs that we receive. And so, if you listened to your engine, say standing next to it on a dyno, versus in it going 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds, you're gonna hear something different because your brain is gonna process. Our brains are really good at attributing meaning to things that have no meaning, and so the sound of an engine in of itself doesn't mean anything, but our brain will add all kinds of contextual meaning and different cues of what it means for us and things like that. So just the fact that you're feeling more acceleration could make your brain think that there's more stress on the engine. And certainly there is more stress, but the engine's not necessarily doing anything bad.
Yeah, from a calibration standpoint, in the grand scheme of things, there's very little difference between the two. Fuels. It's obviously we're just requesting more air, different fuel air ratios, some different timing ratios, but mechanically,
Yeah.
Everything's operating the same way. And I think we're not trying to say there's no noise there. Maybe there's something going
Well,
on.
there could be, yeah.
Yeah, but from a functional technical standpoint, and the noises from the engine, there's not really a lot of reason that you'd be hearing more valve noise or anything like that. Like you stated.
Yeah, no, I'm just ruminating about
Right.
about the possibility. I think it would be really interesting if someone studied this. So you did a study where people hear the same engine, but there are other types of inputs that they're processing at the same time. I think there could be something to that, but I'm not saying that you could actually have a tensioner going out or something, and we don't know. But no, there's no reason why the E85 tune will make your engine sound different or strained or bad.
It is more power. It's more torque. You're gonna your drive line is getting loaded up more. So maybe there's a mount that's getting to a flex point that's just starting to transition a little more NVH to chassis.
Just as an example of myself, so when I first started getting into tuning, and I turbocharged my first car and all that, I remember I just kept. I had this 10 valve 5-cylinder motor, and I just kept throwing more and more boost at it. It was an MC motor, and the more power it would make, the more boost I ran, the faster the car went. It was all music to my ears. And then I don't know, this was like maybe a year and a half, 2 years into this process, I blew the motor fine. I ended up exhaust valve head broke off and went through the piston and destroyed the whole motor. And after that, I got a new motor in, but every time I would hear that motor load up, it would make me nervous because I was kind of traumatized by the experience of blowing up a motor, which I had never had before. So it was like ignorance is bliss. I just thought motors didn't blow up and I could just keep pushing it as much as I wanted. And after it finally blew up, I went forward with the knowledge of that, which gave me a different contextualized meaning for the same sounds that I was experiencing previously that just made me happy. But now I had this idea that something bad could happen as well. So, that's a little bit more. So anyways, all right, let's move on. Well, putting a turbo blanket on a B9 3.0 T hurt the life of the turbo due to increased heat. It's possible. We cannot say.
Yeah, we haven't tested that.
But I have seen turbo blankets make turbo castings just come apart. Like there was one particular, and I don't think this was necessarily great casting,
right.
But who knows? But the casting just started flaking off and breaking off almost like shale.
Yeah, it's just potato chips, kind of like just literally.
And you could just literally, every time you see it, you could just peel a couple more layers of cast iron off this turbine housing. I've seen it destroy exhaust manifolds and pipes, but also I've seen it not do that.
Yeah,
I think generally these turbo blanket products are pretty snake oily. You can spend a lot of money on these, and unless you're protecting components around the turbo from radiant heat, which for sure they will help with that. But there's this theoretical idea that you're keeping more heat in the exhaust inside the turbine housing, which keeps the actual effect of that on an engine and in the real world, I think, is probably well below.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever seen any back-to-backs where you're on a controlled dyno, and you do some bunch of runs without a blanket, put a blanket on, do some more runs to get any benefit?
There's not. And again, I'd love to study this stuff more, but we don't really do much. But we used to sell some turbo blankets, but it was mainly because you're like cramming a big turbo in next to a master cylinder, and all kinds of wiring,
power thing.
Yeah. So they work for heat shielding, but they can have a very detrimental effect on the component that's inside there because yes, the heat buildup can be tremendous. The right way to keep heat in your exhaust and out of the turbine housing is to do a coating on the inside of the header and the inside of the turbine housing. This keeps the heat inside where it's supposed to be. It keeps the heat out of the substrate that will get hurt by it. The problem is finding someone who can do a coating that will last on the inside.
Feed your turbine a bunch of coating flakes.
Yeah, or just come off and just be a complete waste of money. That's a little harder. We used to do a lot more custom turbo systems and things like that. And so I had companies that I would work with that I would send stuff out.
Yeah, there was Jet Hot.
And Jet Hot was good. We used to use them. I don't know what they're doing.
Ton since those days.
There was lots of bad ones too. There was a couple local ones here in California that you put it in, a month later you take the header out and it's all gone. It just went out the exhaust.
Yeah.
So anyways. And the stuff you do at home is a huge waste of time too.
Yeah, I mean you've got to acid dip these things to get them clean enough to even get anything here.
The surface prep is very critical to get this stuff to stick. Any 034 ECU update for 2018 Q5 2.0?
So that's B8.5 2-liter stuff. What's that? Oh, I'm sorry, 2018. Yeah, B9.
2018.
So B9 stuff. Yes, we are.
Damn, someone snuck in a B9 question.
We are working on it. Yeah, B9 2-liter questions are every week.
It's on the radar, but no promises.
Yeah, we don't have a timeline set up yet.
we're heavily focused right now on 3.0 T,
Yeah.
B8, B9, and 2.9 T RS5, and we also have a lot of someone's asking about MQB. We are also working on updates to our current MQB tuning, so those are all taking priority over B9 2.0 or any additional B8. Is there an OEM best mix of parts for the 3.0 T, like say in a B8 S4? I saw a setup which had a Q7 pump for the cooler. Is that better than the stock S4, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a definitive list. These are kind of all over the place. The Q7 pump, I think, is a CWA 100. So yeah, that's a higher flowing coolant pump. But I mean, as far as definitive best list,
I don't think on this
we
car
we
there.
we don't have one set up. I mean, that's a tough list to put together. I would say, the Facebook groups, the forums are kind of a good source for that kind of thing. We can't, unfortunately do that. Our required hardware list would just be off the page then for, some of our calibrations. So, yeah, but it's an answer. It's not an answer.
B9 S4, what would be the benefits of upgrading the transmission mount? Would it cause additional NVH? The benefit of upgrading any of your mounts with our mounts is that we reduce the movement and compliance in the drivetrain, which allows power to apply more directly to your tires where you want it. So imagine right now your car stock is like running through sand. And so these additional mounts are like adding spikes to the bottom of your feet. They give the drivetrain more positive engagement. And so what happens is when you have a mount that squishes, if it squishes 2 inches, then that first horsepower or 10 that your engine creates is going to be used to squish that mount. So the further it squishes, the more power it uses, the longer it lasts. So every time you go to apply power, you're loading up and squishing all this slop in your drivetrain before the power ever gets there.
And it's not that the power goes away. It's being transferred into a medium that then is released when you lift off. So you get this springy back and forth action.
The same thing, like as your foot pushes on the sand moves instead of applying a force to the solid ground underneath it. So yeah, you still move, but you have to use more energy, and it's wasteful. It's not efficient. So the transmission mount specifically will aid in that, and we have inserts for the diffs, and there's a whole mount package that we continue to develop for the car. NVH is the byproduct. The stiffer we make it, the more NVH you're going to feel. There's no free lunch here. If someone out there is saying that they have the stiffest mounts on the market and no NVH, you immediately know they're full of shit, because there is really no way to make a stiffer mount with less NVH. And this is just simple physics. The less compliant your drivetrain is, the stiffer it is, the more vibrations are transferred, and typically the stiffer it gets, the more high frequencies are the easiest to dampen out, because you don't have to move very much to dampen high frequencies. So as soon as you start stiffening things up, those high frequency vibrations, noise, vibration, harshness are conducted more easily through those stiffer mounts. We spend a lot of time kind of optimizing and tuning to increase the stiffness as much as we can with the least amount of NVH that's noticeable. And we've gotten very good at that over the last 15 plus years we've been doing it. So the transmission insert in general is one of our most popular products. Tons of positive reviews. If you go to the product page, you can read about it.
I mean, and from a NVH concern, we had a number of Audi dealers installing them to address some complaints about driveline movement. So
this specifically the DSG shifting.
B8s in particular, we sold Audi dealers, a lot of those to address some complaints. And B9 is for the insert.
Yep. And we were also the first to do these solid aluminum inserts. So all these ones you see on Amazon and eBay and on Alibaba, you're welcome. But we still do the best ones. We continually update and optimize them as needed. And We are the originators,
it's
and
funny.
we'll keep putting out more.
Yeah, if you know enough, you can look through the knockoffs and see what version of ours they've copied.
Yeah, we have older, outdated versions that are still being copied. Will your RS5 tune work on Macan 2.9? We need to test
There's
that.
a really good chance it will. We haven't focused on that yet. And a lot of the times, yes, it'll work, but Porsche, very likely went in and added some other. These ECUs are broken up in a couple of different sectors. So you've got a base calibration, then you have this section of the, other section of the calibration. That's the manufacturer specific section. And that can affect some of the calibration parameters. Usually it's like thermal controls or some other, fan control.
I'm guessing it's not
considerations.
direct.
So it's probably not direct.
But it's something
it's very likely, not going to take a huge effort to do. It just needs testing.
Does valet mode still work on the B9 platform with the tune on it?
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. I can't say that I've done anything with valet mode specifically myself, but we don't.
Is a factory valet mode?
I'd have to. I'm actually not even sure on that. It's a valet key, but I don't know.
I don't think there's a valet.
I don't think it's a.
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't care about that stuff usually. So.
But no, we don't really mess with valet.
I can't think of any reason it would be affected, but I can't speak to that either. So, don't know there.
Are you guys still putting out a tune for the Jokerz supercharger porting?
We're not
sure.
This is the B8 3-liter, the supercharger porting. No, we've never needed a tune. It's our off the shelf file.
I think we spoke at one point in the past about looking into further optimizing it.
We've yet to find a need for it for any of the ports on the market. The flow difference you get. I mean, you've got map sensors there accounting for the whatever extra air is getting to the ports of the engine. So to date, we've never seen the benefit of trying to dial in a calibration for a 40 charger. We've never needed to. All of our record runs we've had out there, weren't accounting for any kind of different supercharger.
The world record runs are off the shelf,
and it's
with ported superchargers.
Yeah, we're reading the air temp coming in, we're reading the pressure coming into the motor. So
we also don't have special tunes for every pulley ratio as well.
Exactly.
You don't need it.
Yeah, we have to pick our battles, right? So we can either say you have to run this exact pulley ratio, or we set up a tune that's got enough headroom for some of the common pulley configurations out there. So.
Yeah, if there was a huge benefit or gain, we would jump on it for sure, but we just don't. Our position is our current tune is optimized for various pulley supercharger levels and supercharger porting, including I was going to say throttle body upgrades. Those specifically have mapping differences.
Yes, those are mapped for the.
But if it wasn't for the mapping differences,
you're right. The
throttle body
you're getting into the motor is really no different.
You would need a special file.
Yeah, no, yeah. So wide open throttle, there's no difference. The mapping for the throttle body is literally just because the ECU. So the ECU knows where to put the throttle to get a certain amount of air in.
So that's a bad example. Recently installed your Stage 2 Plus on my dual pulley 3.0T 2012 A6. I've been using NGK spark plugs, 1 range colder than stock. Are your BRISK racing plugs a better plug? We're pretty, non-BSy when it comes to spark plugs. Spark plugs, they create a short circuit, a spark that ionizes between the spark plug electrode and the grounding strap, and which initiates combustion in your engine. So that's the spark that starts the fire that then propagates and goes crazy as combustion propagates through the combustion chamber. As long as you have a thing that sparks, it's gonna start the
if you've got a smooth, clean running setup, it's pulling well all the way through the power band. You've got no misfires.
If you want to start a campfire, if you have one of those little clicker lighters from Bic or Black & Decker or Zippo, it doesn't matter. The fire is gonna start going. Fire is just this thing that happens.
If it's too windy and you need something with more, some other consideration that can start a fire in that extra wind, you need a different liner.
So we like the BRISK stuff for a few reasons. One, they're affordable. They're about $12 each. You can easily pay $40-$50 for special iridium spark plugs and things like that. It's a spark plug that lends itself well to tuning, so there's lots of options and heat ranges for us to recommend for you. Again, well priced, and there's this little thing they do where the electrode's made from silver, so they actually go the opposite direction. They make the spark plug electrode so that if you see really high combustion pressures or temperatures, the electrode of the spark plug will actually melt before anything else does. This is potentially an issue with iridium and these other more exotic electrodes that are actually designed to withstand lots of heat. But that means that you'll continue to have combustion even when you really shouldn't, and then you can melt a piston ring, valve, lots of other stuff. Now, are we telling anyone take whatever perfectly running plugs out of your car and install BRISKs? They're going to be better. We're not here to say that. I would say that's bullshit if someone tries to tell you that. If you're getting good clean combustion with whatever plug you have, you're fine. Now, if you're running a heat range that's too hot, you could be initiating or starting combustion sooner than you'd like through this effect of dieseling. So spark plugs have different heat ranges, which means that a certain amount of heat will build up in the electrode tip. And spark plugs have this feature where there's a certain amount of insulation between the body, which can absorb thermal energy, and the tip, which maxes out pretty quick on thermal energy. And so certain heat range plugs allow a certain amount of heat to be conducted out of the electrode to not only protect the electrode, but to also prevent pre-ignition. If you're running a plug that's too hot, that electrode will actually start glowing bright red or be superheated to the point where it can just start combustion on its own.
Turns into a plug.
Yeah, and it starts glowing like you would have in a diesel. That's bad in a gasoline engine. You don't want that. So that's why we recommend lower heat range plugs for these higher output applications. And that's what you get with these BRISK plugs that we recommend. And again, they're like $12.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good price for a spark plug these days.
I know.
There's plenty of spark plugs out there that are like $50 each. So, but if you have a good running spark plug, I would say run that until it's worn out. These are wear items, consumables. Get yourself a nice set of BRISKs and throw those in when you need your next change of plugs. We're not here to sell you extra plugs that you don't need or to throw perfectly good spark plugs in the trash. That's not what we're here to do. But if you're going to change your spark plugs, so far we've had great luck with these BRISK plugs. All right, and that's all I got to say about that. My low pressure fuel pump is going out on my B8 S4 and I run E40. What replacement do you suggest? I see people running the Walbro 525 and the RS7 pump.
I mean, I've always had the stock pump in my car for 100,000 miles now. Still, mine is actually starting to go out as well. But I mean, I haven't to date up until recently. The stock pump has been plenty. Now, you got to be careful when you're looking around as to what pumps you're going to put in. Some are brushless, some are brushed. You listed one here that's a brushless and one that's a brushed. Yeah. So there's different pump technologies.
You can't run the Walbro.
No, you can't run the RS5 pump. The RS5 pump is going to be a brushless pump.
Oh, wow.
If memory serves.
Really? Okay.
The Walbro 525 should be a brushed pump. So the B8s are brushed pumps.
Oh, they are brushed.
The 8.5 is brushless.
Got it.
Yeah. So that and then in the B8 chassis you've got two different considerations. So yeah, not a super easy answer, but you're looking for a brushed pump for your B8, and yeah, I mean, it's
a brushed pumps.
It's
just turn on and off.
No, they're controlled. It's just
controlled
it's a different PWM controller. It's a different signal going to the pump. So it's just two wires going down to the pump. Whereas a brushless motor, you're running the actual magnets. There's no and cycling and controlling the pump.
Yeah,
in a very different way. But the they're not compatible between the two. You need to run the correct pump for your installation, and you can't also just put in a brushless pump controller into your B8 S4, even though it looks basically the same as your B8.5, because there's different signals, because Audi doesn't want you to be able to cross those up and screw up the installation. So yeah, you got to get the right pump for your car. Like I said, I've had good luck with the stock stuff. I'm putting another stock one in my car right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if I were you, I would go with whatever fits in there easiest. If you have to start custom modifying it or things like that, that's,
And then the basket becomes an issue. You want to make sure whatever you do, you're able to retain as much of the stock basket as you can.
yeah,
If you're just putting a pump in the bottom of the tank without a basket around it,
yeah, you're gonna get starvation.
starvation
Even
becomes
worse.
an issue. When
It's already an issue.
it's already an issue for the high strung setups.
Any word on your CARB exempt tune for the B8.5? How about intakes?
Yep.
Those are now complete.
Yep.
We're updating our website.
Yeah, you'll see some information coming out soon on those, on how to get the file, how to get the documentation for it.
Yep. We will be sending stickers out. So we will post updated information, and we're going to send an email out to customers who already have those tunes.
Yeah, and I had somebody asking me actually at the Cars and Coffee event about that file. Power-wise, it's identical to our Stage 1 91 file. There's no reason it would be any different. There's some very minor changes into like how fast we allow the throttle plate itself to close. That's just a emissions related reason, and we played it safe and did it the OEM strategy. But I mean, you're basically never going to even probably know the difference between the two files on there.
Yeah. This is it's a legal exemption.
Yeah. Yep. So the file, I mean, these files were loaded on a car, sent down to the lab, tested, all the data information, all of the calibration information was sent to CARB so they could review it. They've signed off on it. And,
They even verified our horsepower numbers.
Yep, they do a power verification.
And the numbers that we publish and advertise are very accurate.
We gave them the Stage 1 power numbers that are on the website. And of course, we knew it was going to be the same. They went down there, they tested it. It was within like a couple horsepower for the power gain.
Which is how we set up our dyno to read very accurate to
and
OEM standards.
Yep, and they do a before stock pull to validate the numbers are what they should be stock. They flash our software. They do the power pull, validate that. It's a pretty thorough process to try and get a.
So if you feel like our numbers are lower than some of the competition out there, our numbers are the actual accurate numbers. There's whatever else is out there. You'll have to decide on what to believe.
We're running into this now. We've got with the RS5 releases, we've got competitors that claim just stock numbers that are 50, 70 horsepower over what the.
Well, this is a nice little trick, right? So if you can play with the stock horsepower number, because let's say Audi says the car comes with 350 horsepower, if you can say, well, it actually makes 400, which whatever, you could just say that.
And say all kinds.
Then all of a sudden, all your gains on top of that are 50 horsepower higher. Because you just push.
Well, your peak number looks 50 horsepower higher. Your delta and your gains mean it may be the same.
Yeah,
but people think they're getting more power.
But if you look at both numbers, then you can just scale it back because they basically just lowered the bar substantially and made it easier. So it's like they added a step stool. It's like a high jump contest, but they put like a 1 foot stool right in front of the high jumper before they go. Everyone else is jumping from the ground. They're already a foot higher. So that's kind of a dirty little trick other tuners do. If you see it, you can make up your own mind about what you think about that. But
we've to date never had to push stock numbers around. To fit our narrative, we do our baseline pulls with the stock car,
and they line up
with the factory claims. We haven't had any, we haven't dynoed a stock car that's quoted, or landed well over the factory horsepower numbers like some of these guys at the crank.
Do you remember, like, kind of in the late '90s when chassis dynos started becoming popular? All of a sudden, it seemed like every car from the factory was underrated. And now looking back on that, it makes sense. So I remember the 993 Turbo. It was rated at 400 crank from the factory, and on wheel dynos, it was putting out 395 wheel on whatever random dyno in some random tuning shop. And so it was like, oh man, Porsche really underrates it. And then I remember the 1AT was underrated, the 270 was underrated.
The 1AT was definitely not underrated.
No, right, but what we were seeing is, and what we know now, is a kind of a bunch of inaccurate chassis dynos that were reading high numbers and making everyone think that the factory numbers were really inflated. Now there are probably some examples of factory cars that are underrated, and I understand there's a reason.
There's also variations. We talked about this a couple weeks
There's
ago.
a lot of
with
variations.
the RS5 stuff. We had like 30 wheel horsepower difference between 3 different RS5s we did.
Yeah.
They were completely stock. So yeah, there can be some variation. You can get a hot car, puts down some more power.
But generally, it's really easy, and we talk about this all the time. It's really easy to manipulate chassis dyno numbers. So when CARB, which measures emissions and power for OEMs like Audi, Ford, Chevy, everyone.
Yep.
Uh,
And it's
every car manufacturer actually has to go through CARB to sell cars in California, which is one of the biggest.
even the electrics, which is great. When you read through the EOs, there are EOs for all the electric vehicles too. So
But we were very, very pleased when our numbers lined up at that level. So
yeah, that's 3 liter for the 2 liter, the MQB stuff. Yeah.
Someone's asking, if I purchase a stage 1 tune right now, can I get the updated CARB file with no charge? Yes.
Yep.
So we don't sell the CARB file by itself. We sell stage 1. And when you purchase stage 1, the CARB file will be available to you. Once you flash it to your car, and we can confirm that here, we will send you an EO sticker. And there's a process that we'll go through. Our website's being updated. It should be ready in the next week or so. So just check back. But we will send an email out to you if you've ever purchased Stage 1 3.0T B8, B8.5. You'll get an email from us telling you about how to apply for a sticker. In the future...
And now you have to be on the CARB file. We're not just going to send out stickers.
Yeah. No, that's what I just said. We will verify that you flashed it to your car and that's the file you're on. We'll send it to you. So we're not going to police it. We're not, we're not the police. So, anything can, you could turn your engine into a kitten murdering machine 2 weeks later. There's nothing, we will never know because we're not here to stop you from killing kittens. But just switched to 034 Stage 2 Plus on my B8.5 S4. How much more unreliable does the burble tune with test pipes make the car? We're not aware of any level of unreliability.
No, I mean, this is you're running test pipes. So I mean, the only concern we ever had with that was just catalyst life. So that's why we limit it to the test pipe files. So there's no. I mean, this is an effect at basically zero load. It's a little extra fuel and some timing adjustment. It's not anything that we're doing to the engine that's a high stress event. So we've seen no issues or concerns.
When can we expect the MQB 2.0T high pressure fuel pump upgraded piston? I don't think we've done that one.
It's in the queue. I don't know where it is. Yeah.
Oh,
It's not done by any means.
No additional information at this time.
I don't know when that's going to be ready.
We will release more information about that. I know we're gearing up to release the 2.0T FSI soon.
Yeah.
But that's not that.
Yeah, which would tee into this guy, I believe. So it's going to be 2 of those. I need to check.
The 3.0T high pressure fuel pump that we released does fit. We have them in S4.0T.
The 4 liter, yeah. So I was just checking our website. It's not on.
No, we haven't updated the website yet. So
to follow up, sorry.
Let me just answer.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's some confusion. All right. So our 3.0T pump that we've released, you need 2 of them for the 4.0T. Before we went and told the world that it's compatible, we installed some in our S4 3.0T. We're doing some reasonable
4.0T.
I'm sorry, S4.0T 4.0T V8 motor.
Yes.
And we're putting some miles on that, but it does fit. We will then offer a kit with 2 pumps.
Yep.
Kind of thing. But it does work. If you'd like to buy 2, you can. And just like the Autotech ones, they're totally compatible. We just like to go through a standard engineering testing process on every new product, even if it kind of seems like we don't need to. We've seen it all, and you just never know. And instead of making you deal with the problem, we'll do it here ourselves and delay it a few weeks. But I can say safely that we're in the process of updating the site.
I wasn't aware those were in.
It should be good. Yeah.
That's what I was leading towards.
RS5 rotors, when can we expect these? Soon. I know they're I think they're on the ocean or on the way here from our manufacturing facility, which everything's been delayed. All right.
Supply chain excuses.
We have
we're over time, but yeah,
Oh, but we can keep
we
going.
can keep going. All you.
Let's just answer this one and we can finish up. TTRS TCU logic, button selected, dynamic mode, TCU goes to sport, turn off car, turn on car, suspension and dynamic, TCU and drive. While pulling back on the shifter, put the TCU and ECU in full sport.
Yeah, if you're in drive and you select dynamic mode from the TCU, yeah, it'll put both into full sport. And it is annoying. I know what you're talking about when you key cycle. It'll still say dynamic on the dash, but
it'll be
ECU and TCU are going to be in comfort.
Yeah.
So
is a button selection always required after cold start to put the car back in
Yep.
full dynamic sport?
Yep, yeah, it is. It's obnoxious.
Yeah.
That's just something the OEM, Audi decided it's how it should work.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging in there with some.
Yeah, sorry about the
Tech support
Instagram
issues.
thing. I think I found some fixes.
I hope
We'll be doing-
Instagram people made it over. Is there any indication that?
YouTube was pretty good viewership.
Yeah. Yeah. And we said something on Instagram, but I don't, people see that. I mean, they could see like some fitness, inspirational fitness page, and then get distracted, and next thing you know, they're off watching those reels. So happens to me all the time. All right. Well, cheers. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.